Hey everyone, today we're going to finish talking about this book. Like I said, it's a really cool book. It has really fun stuff in it, and like I said, if you like history, then you'll really love this book because it's really cool. Because it just has the history, basically, of the DC comics. Um, and this is interesting, and I think it's important to talk about. It talks about, during the 60s, of course. Um, and if you read this guy says to Green Lantern, you've done all these things for, like, you work for blue skinned people, you've helped orange skinned people. Like, what have you done for, the black skins? That's, his quote, not mine. I want to know how come. Answer me that, Mr. Green Lantern. And Green Lantern's like, I can't. So they made a point during the 60s to become more inclusive, the late 60s, and to have more characters, more diverse characters. Of course, the main characters were still the most popular ones, but they still made an effort to be more diverse, and more inclusive. And like I said, they just have like sketches in here of different things and different like concept art, which I think is really cool. And like apparently Jimmy Olsen had his own comic book at one point. It says Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. So oh, and then we come to, um, the Wonder Woman TV show. Love that show. It's so much fun. Just like the Batman show. I mean, granted, it takes itself a little bit more seriously, but, it's still. Like, and they have, like I said, I think this is cool. They have, her notes on hair and her costume and things like that. Like, I think it's really cool. And there was actually a Wonder Woman movie in 1974, which it's over here. But I mean, obviously, like, it didn't do that well. Nobody knows about it really, but it was there. Just like there was a Supergirl movie in the '90s, which I actually really liked, the early '90s, but apparently nobody else did because, um, it's not very popular. Like, not very many people even know that there was a Supergirl movie, or like a Spider-Man TV series, a live-action Spider-Man TV series, or the Captain America movie, like in the '90s. I mean, there's so many failed, I will say, excursions that they tried to do into like TV and movies, because of course Batman, during the '60s was popular, and Wonder Woman was, it didn't have a huge following, but it was still popular. Um, so they tried to capitalize on that, and it just didn't ever work. I mean, there's this one Fantastic Four movie that you watch and from the '90s, and you think, oh, that's pretty bad. Maybe because they didn't have the technology to make it look good because it's a superhero, and that comes with certain expectations. I don't know, but it wasn't as good. Of course, not to be like super picky, but like the Fantastic Four movie, the newest remake, that was pretty terrible, and they have that technology, so it just, you know, it is what it is. I mean, it's just sometimes you just miss. And like, and right here they have the Shazam button, like as a advertisement. It says Shazam is coming, 1972. It was actually like a 4-inch button, like ceramic button, but of course they did it as a sticker because you can't really. And I found this interesting. Like, see, you can take it out and like unfold it. This is a concept for the Ragman comic, and if you like I've never taken this out before. You can smell that paper. Obviously, it's reproduction. It's not the original, but it's still pretty cool that they did that. But if you remember on The Flash, the TV series, they actually added that character for a while, and that was kind of cool to see. It sounds like a weird weird character concept, but it was actually pretty cool. Like he was actually one of my favorite characters on the show. Um, so and then you get into like the Superman movies with Christopher Reeves. I mean, Christopher Reeve to me will always be Superman. He just will, hands down. He will always be Superman. Like I mean, granted, some of the other men who have played Superman have done a good job. I'm not saying they haven't. It's just to me, he will always be Superman. He had that perfect balance of clumsy, goofy Clark Kent and this like confident Superman. I don't know. It just he to me he'll always be Superman. He's just like I went back and watched all those movies. Granted, like once you get to like 3, you're like, oh, that's really goofy. But that happens because like look at the Batman movies. Once you get to 3, it starts to be like, oh, okay. Going back to the throwback to the Batman series from the 60s, a little bit on the like, oh, the goofy side, I will say. Oh, especially like the movie with George Clooney, where he talked about the Batman credit card. Oh, I mean, it was supposed to be like a serious point in that movie. I mean, the whole movie's supposed to be serious, but you see that and you're like, they really went there. Okay. And you just have to laugh. I mean, because what else can you do? Oh, sorry. I just get a kick out of that because it's funny. And it shows like the official like DC letterhead for memos and stuff in here, which I think is pretty cool. Oh, and it's funny. Like they have Superman versus Muhammad Ali. So that's pretty. It was something that you could order, like right in, like coming this summer. You could order today. So that's. I mean, like they have all like in the past they've tried to, because you saw a couple of other celebrities, I will say, in the comic books, and so they tried to like capitalize on that. And they have this 1980 like moving notice. Like, have you heard the news? News? What news? Serious? It sure is. The big news about DC Comics. I hope it's something serious. It says DC is moving. And then just basically saying our new address is this. So that's kind of cool. And, our new address, or right, like December 3rd, we're moving to this address. Our new phone number is, So I just think that was cool. And then they have like a reproduction of a Wonder Woman bookmark that they use to, encourage kids to read, promote literacy. And here you go, talking about the Superman movie with Christopher Reeve again. like I said, this is definitely more about the history of the DC comics, not so much about like new events. Oh, and of course, like concept art from for Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. Very like iconic storyline in Batman's history. And then of course the Watchmen series. Which these action figures are newer ones because, like I talked about in my action figure video of the X-Men, they didn't really do action figures that much until like, you know, the 90s. And of course, this was, you know, Watchmen was before that. So the action figures were more recent constructs. And then they talk about how, you know, it started to be everywhere. Like that's the new Batman movie, or at the time, with Christian Bale in the Dark Knight. And then they talk about, you know, the Superman TV show, the Batman animated series, which is one of the best, I will say, comic book series out there, or animated series, you know, aside from X-Men, of course, because that'll always be my favorite. But, yeah, so they talked about that. And then they mentioned Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. And then they like included a Christmas card. Alex Ross painted this, and it just says, "Share the joy with all. Best wishes for a happy holiday season. Your friends at DC." 1996. That's pretty cool. Like I said, they included, you know, reproductions of things and stuff. So, and they have other things like, yes, that's Jerry Seinfeld right there. Like I said, celebrities. 25th anniversary. Adventures in show business. So anyway, that was the rest of the book. Like I said, most of the book focused on the early history, which makes sense. And I mean, if you like history, then it's definitely something worth checking out. Like I didn't have time to explain everything, and I'm not sure everyone would want to hear that because like my other, I will say, comic book history video series didn't do that well, which I get it. Not everyone likes history. I mean, I do, so I found it interesting. But anyway, like I said, you should check out the book. It's really cool. Like it has more stuff that I didn't even show you, but like I didn't want to bore you like I did in the other videos. I apologize. But anyway, I also have a Marvel version of this book, so we will talk about that next because, you know, I love comic books, so of course I'm gonna get both. So anyway, I hope you join me for that video, and until next time, bye.